here I am using my Flipper Zero to read an NTAG 215 using NFC for near-field communication. And here I am using it to read the sub-GHz frequency of this remote control. The Flipper Zero can interact with so many electronic devices around you, but people don't even know where to start. Well, this is the video for you because we're going to go over everything. And bonus, if you got one of these Wi-Fi dev boards, make sure you watch to the end because I'm going to show you exactly how to flash this with Marauder, which makes it way more capable. I've been making Flipper Zero videos for like 3 years now. In today's video, I'm not only going to show you the basics, I'm also going to show you how to install custom firmware to unlock your full potential. All right, so get ready to hack the planet. Let's get at it. All right, first things first, a real quick disclaimer. Only test your own devices or devices you have express permission to test. Doing otherwise is super uncool. Don't be a skid. And for those of you unfamiliar with the term, a skid is a script kiddie. Basically somebody who downloads scripts or downloads malicious things and just unleashes them on the world. Nobody likes that guy. Don't be that guy. All right, so if you've got one of these, you're gonna need one of these. It's a micro SD card. This guy right here happens to be from Rabbit Labs. This bad boy is an 8 gig SD card direct from Rabbit Labs, and it's base 10. It's great quality and it's not huge. It is perfect for Flipper Zero. You really don't need a huge SD card. 8 gigs is perfectly fine. We're gonna download some files later on to get it all filled up, but you don't need something huge, so don't waste your money. The only caveat is make sure you get a reputable brand. Don't get some nameless crap off of AliExpress. You never know with those cards, so get something decent. So go ahead, take your Flipper Zero. You can be off for now, and then you're going to put your SD card with the contacts facing up into the SD card slot, push it in until it clicks. It should make an audible click and kind of detent back in, then you know you're ready to go. Now it's time to update. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and plug this thing in to a USB-C cable. Now I've got this cool chunky cable which works absolutely fantastic, but you have to make sure that you know your USB cable carries data. Incredibly, incredibly important. And if you don't know if it carries data or not, the one that came with it does. So let's go ahead and plug this guy in just like this, and let's head down to the desktop. All right, so here we are down at the desktop. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to flipperzero.1/downloads. You're gonna see right here you have Flipper Zero Q Flipper. That's how we're gonna control everything. You can download via the PC or via mobile app. I'll show you both. So you're going to download for Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever. I obviously already have that. So we'll fire up Q Flipper and you'll see as soon as it connects, there we go. This is my actual Flipper screen and you can actually control it right here with the buttons. So if we go back here and then click the little wrench here, you can update right now. So first of all, there are 3 different versions of the Flipper Zero firmware: release, release candidate, and development. Basically, release means it's the safest possible version of the firmware. Release candidate means it may have a few extra bells and whistles, but it's still very stable. Then you have development, which is supposed to have all of the latest and greatest features, but it may lack some of the stability of other releases. I like running development because I have honestly never run into like any problems on the dev builds of pretty much anything, so I like to live dangerously. Once you've done that, all you're gonna do is go ahead and click update. It's gonna say it's gonna install new firmware, update again, and it's gonna go for it. So the official firmware actually doesn't take anywhere near as long to install as the custom firmware because it doesn't come with as many apps. So now it's finished moving the files over. Now it's actually installing on the Flipper Zero itself. You can't see the screen anymore because it's doing things in the background, but again, just be patient. It'll pop back up in just a second.
Hi kids, it's me, Talking Sasquatch.
The planet. Don't be a skid. See you real soon. See you real soon.
And just like that, we are all set. Click the continue button, and then yeah, it says right on the screen, firmware update success. Press OK. Good to go. And you can see one of the brand new animations. I love the Flipper Zero animations. I think they're awesome. So let's go ahead and actually pair this with our phone. I can show you exactly how to update it via mobile. Same idea. So what we'll actually do is open here, and let's go into settings because we want to make sure Bluetooth is turned on. So let's go all the way down to settings, Bluetooth right here, and make sure Bluetooth is turned on. Done and done, couldn't be easier. All right, so here we have our handy dandy cell phone right here. Good to go. So what you'll do is you'll download Q Flipper from the App Store or whatever iOS or Android Play Store, I don't care. Download Q Flipper, and then once you've got it, we're gonna go ahead and click connect. I have 3 flippers, so it knows all 3 of them. We're gonna connect to this guy down here. Click the pair and connect button. Click the pair button again. And on the screen, it's actually gonna give you a pairing code. This is this code, 1136, okay. And that should connect. Here we go. Perfectly easy. Very, very cool. So you can update your flipper again right here. All you have to do is click the update button. So right now it looks like there's an update. I believe that's just because I'm on the dev version, as you can see right there. No problem. Other things that you can do from here, which is kind of cool, is if you click the apps button, this is how you install official Flipper Zero apps using mobile. It couldn't be easier. It's so much fun, and there are so many apps. I mean, look at all these apps. It's crazy. I highly suggest going over all the apps, checking all that out, because it is so much fun to play with. All right, so now that we have our Flipper Zero official install, let's show you how to get momentum. So let's head back down to the desktop. All right, so we're back down here at the desktop, and we have QFlipper open, and you can see it's still running. We do want to make sure we close QFlipper before we do this next step, because we'll have two devices trying to effectively access the flipper at the same time, which don't work. So close QFlipper, and we're going to go ahead and navigate over to momentum-fw.dev. This is Momentum custom firmware. It is, in my opinion, the best custom firmware out there. It's got a ton of options and a ton of features. It's so cool. So all you got to do is go ahead and click install. Since our flipper is plugged in, it's going to go ahead and work. We're just going to click connect. Here's my flipper connected on COM3. Hit connect. And boom, we are connected and ready to go. Just like we did before, we're gonna select our firmware channel, which let's go for dev. Branch, oh man, I'm so tempted, but for this video, let's stick to dev. If you wanna try branch, maybe there's some cool stuff in there, let me know in a comment down below. So let's go to dev. This is gonna be the latest version. Keeping in mind, these are, I believe, like EU timestamps, so it isn't April 10th, it's actually 10.5, so it's not like outdated. Go ahead, click install. And yeah, it's going to go ahead and install just like it did before. Now, remember when I told you that this is going to take a lot longer than the official install? It's because it's got a giant resources package that it puts on there, which has all the applications and all the really fun stuff. So if you want the really fun stuff, patience. So yeah, we'll give this a few more minutes and we'll cut back when we're done. And actually, while we're waiting on that, let's have a quick conversation about the difference between custom firmware and the original firmware. So the original firmware, or official firmware, it's got pretty much all you need to use the Flipper Zero. It's really great baseline, like, starting place. Custom firmware does have more features, it's got more apps and stuff on there, so we recommend anybody using Flipper Zero for the first time, use the official firmware, get kind of a lay of the land, and then when you install custom firmware, you'll see all the differences and really appreciate what's going on. And just like that, we are all set, ready to go, installed. Super cool. Now, one of the other things that we can do, and actually if we click out of here, I have to press the button actually on here, you'll notice that this has different animations than yours might, because what I did is I clicked on the asset pack over here. Now, there are a ton of asset packs. All you have to do is go ahead and click install. Let's say we want Rabbit Labs, and give it a few seconds and it'll be installed. You'll be able to select it. And just like that, it's done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close the browser. I'll open QFlipper back up so we can see what we're doing again. And then here we are, ready to go. Now, if you wanted to change the theme packs, all we have to do is click the middle button, go over to the Momentum settings, because Momentum has its own set of settings. And then we're going to go into interface, graphics, and then we can change the asset pack right there. Boom, go to Watchdogs, go to, what else do we have? Here's Rabbit Labs. So this is the one we just installed. So let's go ahead and choose the Rabbit Labs. And then if you just click back, now we have the Rabbit Labs theme going on. It's so cool. I'm going to switch it back to mine because I like mine. So here we go. And perfect. Couldn't be easier. So we are so close to having everything we need on our Flipper Zero. But one thing that makes life a little bit more fun, a little bit easier, is if you have files, because there are a ton of files for the Flipper Zero. So in order to get those files, I actually made a GitHub repository, which has everything you could possibly need. It makes life so much easier. So if we head on over to github.com/schizophrenic, SKIZZOPHRENIC, you'll find my Uber's SD card files. Now, my buddy Uber Guidos, he is kind of a, we'll call him an internet archivist, but he likes to collect all of the latest and greatest Flipper Zero files, and this is where you'll find them. You have BadUSB files, which basically the Flipper Zero can act as a BadUSB. What you do is you load a payload, and then you plug it into your computer, and it runs commands. It can be almost anything. The world is your oyster. There are so many BadUSB scripts. They're actually kind of good USB scripts. So you plug it in and it just automates things and makes your life easier. So we also have infrared, which again, these are the IR files that controls projectors, TVs, air conditioners, things like that. Things that can actually be super useful around your own home. One of the other things that it has is NFC. And if you didn't know that the Flipper Zero can actually emulate Amiibo. And then we also have Sub-GHz files, things like ceiling fans, doorbells, all sorts of great stuff. Again, making your life much easier if you can use your single device to help control items in your own home that you have permission to test or use. So what we're gonna do is actually we need to download a program called GitHub Desktop. And all you gotta do is Google it, search for GitHub Desktop. It's gonna make it so much easier to download. So I have it already, of course, because I'm making a demo on this. So the easiest thing to do is go ahead and we're gonna click the little code button right there, and we're gonna copy this HTTPS address. So we'll click the copy button, and then we'll open up our GitHub Desktop, go to File, Clone Repository, click on the URL right over here, and then we're gonna enter in the URL, and we're gonna click Clone. Now, it's going to go ahead and download all these files without them being in the zip file. I know you can download it as a zip file, but decompressing this is huge. You really don't want to waste your time decompressing this giant zip file. So if you clone it, it's 100 times easier. It's going to take a few seconds depending upon how fast your internet is, but you know, it's just another waiting game. While we're doing that, I'm actually going to disconnect my Flipper Zero, and we're going to take the SD card out. The reason being is if you try to do all these files through QFlipper, it's going to take forever. So invest in a SD card to USB adapter so you can go ahead and just plug your SD card directly in, and then we can transfer the easy way. So now we have just enough time to talk about today's sponsor, TryHackMe. If you've ever used TryHackMe to learn hacking, now you can get certified to prove it. TryHackMe has launched 2 new certifications that go beyond theory and test what really matters: your ability to perform as an analyst or pen tester. The first is Security Analyst Level 1. It's a hands-on defensive certification built with Accenture and Salesforce to benchmark real-world SOC skills. The learners investigate live incidents, triage alerts, escalate threats, and write SOC reports inside a virtual SOC simulator, exactly like what happens in real jobs. And then there's the Penetration Tester Level 1, an offensive entry-level penetration certification modeled on real client engagements. It tests full adversarial thinking, reconnaissance, exploitation, privilege escalation, and professional report writing across web, network, and Active Directory environments. The cybersecurity job market is exploding. There are over 3.5 million open vacancies. However, the entry-level jobs get over 140 applicants, so you need to stay above the noise. And what's going to help you is proof of job-ready abilities, and that's where TryHackMe can help. If you ever wanted to move from a hobbyist hacker to a professional pen tester, TryHackMe is the place for you. Get certified with TryHackMe, Penetration Testing Level 1 or Security Analyst Level 1, and you'll be joining over 5.5 million other users. And don't forget to use my code SASQ30 to get 30% off. Thank you so much to TryHackMe for the support. You guys are absolutely awesome. All right, let's get back at it. And just like that, all of our files are downloaded already. It's going to ask if you want to contribute or use for your own purposes, but yeah, use for your own purposes, ready to go. Click continue, and everything's good from there. So from there, we can actually close this. We're going to close our browser window, close QFlipper, because we're going to go ahead and navigate to our files. So let's go over here and grab our folder right here with all of Uber's SD files. So we'll open this up, and there's going to be a few things we're not going to use in here. We don't need the .git files, and we don't need the .git ignore or modules. So we'll go ahead and take our SD card that we have plugged into our adapter, plug that in. That should pop up right here. So all you're going to do is go to your Uber's SD card files. We're going to go apps through Wave Player, hold Shift, Control C to copy, and then we'll just go to our USB drive and then Control V right here. It's going to copy and paste all of the files over. This will take a while. It's going to take a while, but it's not too bad. This is why you don't want to do it with the QFlipper, because QFlipper uses SPI for data transfer, which is very, very slow compared to this. This is like a minute and a half. If you did it through the QFlipper app, it'd probably take you like hours. So do it this way, super easy. So we'll let this do its thing and we'll be right back.
Hack the planet. Are you watching? Subscribe before it's too late.
All right, so that took what seems like forever, but we're all set. We're gonna go ahead and unplug from the computer, and we're gonna plug it back into our Flipper Zero. One thing I do wanna note, because people always ask me about this, is that some of the files occasionally get flagged by Defender, thinking that they're nefarious, but they're really not. They're just the way the scripts are written. So don't worry if Defender flags something, if it deletes it, whatever, you probably won't even look at what that file does anyway. So now we have our Flipper Zero ready to go. So I'm gonna switch over to the top down and show you exactly what all this stuff does, because now that you're ready, you can actually do some cool stuff. Oakley dokley. So here we have our Flipper Zero. Super cool. We got my asset pack on there. Very, very fun. So I haven't even really gone over the buttons. They're hard to see because they're different colors, but we have the power button right here, or the back button. When you click back, it's gonna go back. Center button is kind of the OK button. And then we have the arrow keys. So first things first, let's hold off on apps for just a little while because we're going to use an app to flash our Wi-Fi dev board. So let's go over and start with Sub-GHz. So Sub-GHz is really fun. This will read frequencies other 1 GHz. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and go to read raw. Right now, I know that this little device right here records at 433.92 megahertz and it's at AM650 modulation. So if we click record, you're going to start flashing and then boom, you can read right on there. There's my record. So we're going to stop. And what it's going to do now is if I go to, and that light is so bright, sorry. If we go over to save, we can save it. And then once we save this, we can go ahead and send this. So right now it's sending the exact code that I just sent. So basically it's acting just like this remote, which is super useful because I can have a bunch of these different remotes and I can use the Flipper Zero to basically copy all of the frequencies that those send and have it kind of batch together. So this could turn all my holiday lights on all at once. Super cool. Sub-GHz is awesome. Now I will recommend that you do not try to copy your car keys. Car keys use rolling codes, and the best case scenario is you're going to make it so your key doesn't work anymore. So don't mess with car keys with these. Trust me, you don't want to do that. So if we move over here, we're at 125 kilohertz RFID. What this can do is it can read things like pets microchips, which is super useful. I really wish I could grab one of my cats and wrangle him and use this one on camera, but that's going to be really impractical for this demo. So we'll just use some stock footage. So we'll go over here too. Now we have NFC. NFC is near field communication. So if we go ahead and read, we can read something like this NTAG 215 card, which I made myself. So if we hold this here and I'll cover this blinking light, you can see it reads and it says hack the planet. Super cool. I love these things because NFC is all over the place. So many different applications for NTAGs. I've got NTAG rings, the little NES cartridges I made for DEF CON were NFC. I've got keychains. NFC is literally everywhere. NFC is probably one of the most useful things this thing can do. Exit here, and then let's go over here. Now we have infrared. Infrared's pretty cool. There's a little infrared guy on the side here, and if we go ahead and select that, you can see that we have universal remote. So if we select that, we can see all of these different universal remotes that we have. This is why we downloaded all those files, because that's what populates all this stuff. So if we go to TVs, this is basically going to act as a universal remote for TVs. If I press the power button, it's going to send a ton of different signals out to TVs, and I'm not sure if you can see this thing flashing away. Oh yeah, there you go. You can see it flashing away, and it's going to try to turn off TVs because these are universal remotes. This will work on most TVs that I've tried, at least the ones that I have permission to test, because only test your own devices. So if we hop out of there, we can go to learn new remotes. So the way this works is you can take a remote like this bad boy right here. We're going to go ahead and just press the on button, and it should read it. There we go. And we're going to go to save. We can name the button, which I'm going to name to on, O-N, and go to save. Boop-a-doop. And now we have our remote that we've made, and it only has the on button. But you can see I can send the on button, and it's going to go ahead and send the on command. Let's add another. So we just go to the plus button right there. Flashing away again. We're going to go to So we just press another one. So we'll go to save, delete all these guys. And of course, now we're going to go to OFF, off, and then save. Now we have an on and an off button. So you can go ahead and recreate pretty much any IR remote you want. It's that easy and that simple. It's so freaking useful. Now, another thing that you can do is you can actually add GPIO add-on boards for the Flipper Zero. So on top here, they have GPIO, and I can plug in, this is actually a Slim Shady board by my buddies over at Rabbit Labs with a really cool case printed by Tron. So once we've got that plugged in, if we go to GPIO settings, you'll notice that it's going to auto detect GPIO. So let's see if this works. So we're going to go to universal remotes. We'll go back to TVs. Let's press the power button and see if this guy works. Yeah, now you can see this thing blasting away. This thing is so powerful that this can turn off TVs that you're allowed to touch. It seems like hundreds of feet. It's really, really far. It's super cool. All right, let's exit out of here. And that is basically IR. So we'll pop that guy off and keep going down here. Now we have GPIO. So GPIO really just does some relatively higher level stuff like I2C stuff and other controls and UART bridges. We're not going to get into that today because it's a little bit more than a beginner video. So let's keep moving. Now we have iButton. iButton is something that you really are probably never going to see, or at least not much in the United States. These are the iButton pins back here. You happen to notice I'm missing one. I may have swapped this case out a few too many times and lost one of the pins in the process, but basically you touch those little terminals to an iButton thing, and you can, you know, send signals and receive signals from them. Again, I have never actually used that. So now we have our bad keyboard, which is, again, BadUSB in this. These are all of the BadUSB scripts you can run on there. And they do all sorts of cool stuff in demos. So let's load up a demo, and let's go to demo. Let's go to Windows, and I'm going to press this. And let me load up the desktop real quick, and we'll run this to show what it does. 1 second. So here we are down at the desktop. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the Flipper Zero and click Run. So it's more of a demo to show you how this works, but I'm not doing anything. It's all being run by the Flipper Zero itself. It's very, very cool. I love BadUSB. There are an absolute ton of scripts on BadUSB. So don't just go ahead and run anything you find on here, because we've had people run these things and there's some joke stuff. Like one time somebody was actually in Discord and they ran a BadUSB script that went through and printed the entirety of a B movie, line by line, over and over again, and they were freaking out. They couldn't figure out how to stop it. It was really funny. So moving on, we have Universal Two-Factor. This is a software two-factor authentication setup that you can use the Flipper device itself. It's pretty cool. Doesn't work for Windows, but yeah. So now we're into the momentum settings and the normal settings and all that other good stuff. So let's go into apps, and I'll show you how to program this guy right here. So we're going to go into apps. There are a ton of apps. If you go into just Bluetooth, you can see there's Bluetooth spamming, Bluetooth remotes. There's a Find My Flipper. You can actually set your Flipper up as a Apple AirTag, which is really neat, or like a tile tag. There's a bunch of stuff, and you can track your Flipper Zero around. Very, very cool. PC monitor. I mean, again, there is so much stuff in here. There are games. So of course, let's go ahead and just do this, because if I don't do this, you're gonna ask down in the comments. Here we have Doom. Press fire. Here we go. And we can just move around just like Doom. There's a guy over here, right? Hello? Hey, buddy. You gonna be a friend, buddy? Hello? He doesn't look very friendly. He looks kind of mean. Let me... Go, go. Oh, sorry, friend. That's basically Doom. It's not great, but, you know, you can call it Doom. Doom adjacent. So if we go through, again, there's so many cool things in here. We have more infrared remotes. We've got more different protocols. IR scope. I mean, I don't even know what some of this stuff does. There's so many cool things. But let's get out of here. Let's do what we wanted to do before, which is going to be scroll all the way to GPIO. We're going to go to ESP, because this is a Flipper Zero ESP. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and plug this bad boy in right now. There we go. And if we scroll down, we'll get to ESP Flasher. So the ESP Flasher is a fantastic tool written by Coco Code. And yeah, all we have to do is go to Quick Flash, and we have the options, Flipper Wi-Fi Dev Board. That's what we have right here. Select that. So now we have ESP32 Marauder, which is a Wi-Fi testing tool, which is probably the most useful thing. Flipper HTTP, which actually allows you to connect the Flipper Zero to the internet, which is really cool. Black Magic was originally what this was made for, and it's a debugging tool, wireless debugging tool. So we'll go ahead and click Marauder, and yeah, it's just gonna start to go ahead and do this. I'll put my thumb over this again because it's so bright. It takes a few seconds, but it's going to go through and erase the currently existing firmware on your Wi-Fi dev board and flash right now Marauder to it, which is very, very useful. If you don't know what Marauder is, I have a ton of videos on how to use Marauder. It can do things like read access points, broadcast its own access points. It can try to de-authenticate different networks. There's a lot of stuff it can do. Very, very useful. And just like that, we are done. Now you'll notice at the end here, it says, and people always ask about this, so I always talk about it. If we scroll up, you'll notice if you were being very observant when all this stuff was scrolling through the screen, it says failed to mount SD card. SD card not supported. That's because the card itself doesn't have an SD card. The way this application is actually written is that the board itself will write to the SD card on the Flipper Zero itself. So that's why that does that. Don't worry about that. You're good to go. Now we have a Flipper Zero with a Wi-Fi penetration testing module on there. It could not be cooler. And we have new mail. How fun is that? We have leveled up our Flipper. Because again, the Flipper Zero does have kind of a virtual pet leveling system. Now we are officially level 3. Fantastic, super fun. That is your basic day one getting ready to use Flipper Zero and some of the cool things that Flipper Zero can do. So yeah, that's how to get your Flipper Zero ready to hack the planet. Now make sure to only hack ethically and responsibly, and again, only on devices that you are allowed to use or own yourself. What features are you most excited to try out? Leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys are still here, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. It means the world to me. All right, we'll catch you next time.